So basically, while they claim that they're going after illegal immigrants who have done heinous crimes or whatever, no, they're not doing that. They're actually just simply going after everyone and anyone that could be considered undocumented at any given moment, unless you were born on U.S. soil. And even if you were born on U.S. soil, there could be a point where you could get denaturalized or exiled. Donald Trump, straight up. We're just cooking America. We're cooking. We are cooking the United States of America on the global stage. Okay, let's continue.
President Trump's immigration crackdown. Our senior investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky, is tracking the raids by immigration enforcement agents across the country, including here in New York. Good morning, Aaron.
About 36 people arrested here in New York, and the Trump administration now plans for stepped-up immigration.
Yeah, also the Gaza condom story is a complete lie, and it's crazy how quickly just a complete lie like that understandably elevates to, I mean, a complete lie like that so quickly just becomes the common narrative. And back in the day, it was mostly done. I mean, for Israel, it was always done by like official State Department employees. Never to this degree, like never to this level of silliness, but still. Obviously, Joe Biden very famously did the whole like, and the Hamas health ministry lie. And the Republicans have never really stopped lying about undocumented immigrants being responsible for a large share of crimes, and doing, you know, thousands of murders or whatever. But let's get to Trump's immigration crackdowns. Hold on.
Enforcement in 3 major cities each week. This morning, federal agents are intensifying the Trump administration's promise of mass deportations of undocumented immigrants. In New York, heavily armed agents moving into an apartment in the Bronx. Their target, 25-year-old Anderson Zambrano Pacheco, a purported Venezuelan gang member wanted in connection with a home invasion and kidnapping in Aurora, Colorado.
There was a loud bang, so I'm assuming they used one of those things where they open the door.
Nearly 36 were arrested in the New York City operation.
My understanding is that they had specific names of people who've committed crimes, serious offenders, and those are exactly the people that we want removed from the state of New York.
In Florida, authorities arresting 12 people in Tallahassee they say were in the U.S. illegally. In Miami, more than 12 Chinese migrants taken into custody. And this Georgia woman says her husband was arrested while in church. Now she wonders whether she and her children will be next. Authorities say they're targeting violent criminals, but acknowledge other immigrants will likely be swept up too.
Our focus is the most violent criminal illegal aliens that are in our investigations and in other investigations in the federal government, law enforcement community.
And if others get swept up in an operation, that's okay? That's acceptable?
I think that is very likely to happen.
The Trump administration is publicizing daily arrest numbers, but not saying how many have committed violent crimes.
How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them. These laws, and therefore they are criminals.
Fear is growing in this community of migrant farm workers in California. Some are sheltering at home, too scared to go to work or take their kids to school.
They're scared to go outside. They're asking neighbors and friends who have status to drive them back and forth because they're concerned that they may be targeted.
Thousands of undocumented immigrants with and without criminal records have been arrested so far since Trump has been in office. And George, the White House says the goal is to round up nearly 1,900 of them every single day.
To a more serious matter, President Trump's long-promised immigration crackdown, a crackdown now in action. Major Garrett rode along with federal agents and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on a series of raids yesterday here in New York City. It was meant to be a targeted operation, but as the administration has warned, other people did get swept up as well. Major joins us now. Major, good morning.
Good morning. The Trump administration has a goal to apprehend 500 people here in New York over about a week-long period. We joined dozens of federal agents on the first day of this operation.
Target today is Anderson Pacheco.
Dozens of federal agents gathered in New York City before dawn Tuesday with targeted plans to apprehend criminal undocumented immigrants. A convoy of SUVs rolled through the Bronx, eventually settling outside this apartment building.
Let's just let a few guys from gangs go in.
Inside, agents found a suspected gang member from Venezuela wanted on several felony charges, now in custody with 3 associates. Also there in the residence, 3 children. Their immigration status unknown. And now a check to see if they have a caregiver or if Child Protective Services needs to be brought in.
These guys are dirtbags. They have come in and perpetuated violence in this country.
Recently confirmed Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem came along for the raid. How many of these do you expect you'll witness as secretary?
I hope a lot.
New York is a sanctuary city, so cooperation with local police on immigration enforcement is limited. But Noem said there is some overlap.
Mayor's been fantastic. One of these individuals was so dangerous, and that we needed the backup of the NYPD to be there in case things went south.
This undocumented Dominican man was incidentally swept up in another Bronx operation.
Where are we transporting?
With no known criminal history, it is unlikely that he would have been arrested during the Biden administration.
Do you know why you're being picked up today?
Now he'll likely face deportation. Another change? The Trump administration no longer prohibits arrests near so-called sensitive areas. So is it your operating assumption that some of these people you describe as the worst of the worst can be and will be found inside churches and hospitals and schools?
I'm saying that those are not going to be safe zones.
Noem said law enforcement should continue to use discretion in apprehending the hundreds of thousands of criminal migrants she says are in the U.S.
It's going to take a long time. I think that's...
Can you define a long time?
Months, maybe years.
Without congressional action, it may be longer.
I have to stand up more immigration courts. I need more immigration judges. But you got to give me the dollars to stand up those courts and make it happen.
Immigrants taken into custody Tuesday were brought to the ICE field office in Lower Manhattan for processing and paperwork. They let our cameras in, too. You want cameras at these events, don't you? And some would say you want this spectacle to be filmed.
It's not a spectacle. This is our nation's law enforcement judicial process. The scales of justice are equally applied to everybody. We want transparency on this.
Yesterday, around 90 federal officers arrested 20 suspects in about a 4-hour period. 8 of those suspects had no criminal histories at all. Of those who did, they had charges pending ranging from murder to theft to kidnapping.
Major, did DHS or ICE let you talk to any of these people who were apprehended?
No. They put them into squad cars for deportation and processing. And not every action we went on had a criminal warrant attached to it. In New York City, if a criminal warrant is attached, New York Police Department officials will assist. So the others were simply immigration enforcement maneuvers. New York.
Wow. So no criminal enforcement, no criminal warrant. And no criminal enforcement whatsoever. I just don't understand, like, the Dominican guy that was, like, randomly there that is being deported and numerous other people. I just, hold on. I'm trying to fix the lighting by standing in a specific point, in a specific location without shutting off the background completely because it gets really boring. The background turns into a really boring one when I put the curtains on. Would they deport random legal migrants? They are talking about, okay. They are talking about deporting, or at the very least, taking away the paperwork of legal migrants. Yes. So that will happen in due time. They're literally talking about denaturalization as the final part of this plan, this master plan. So, but yeah, they've already shut off the CBP-1 applications that legal asylum seekers were using, and they had their appointments. So basically, while they claim that they're going after illegal immigrants who have done heinous crimes or whatever, no, they're not doing that. They're actually just simply going after everyone and anyone that could be considered undocumented at any given moment, unless you were born on U.S. soil. And even if you were born on U.S. soil, there could be a point where you could get denaturalized or exiled. Donald Trump, straight up, I hear Trump signed an order to put migrants in camps at Gitmo. He did do that. And also the Secretary of Defense was talking about how they're going to build camps on top of the golf course at Gitmo to house additional migrants, because Gitmo at its peak had like almost 800 people in it. It's not a very large facility, but good thing our current Secretary of Defense, who worked at Guantanamo Bay, is now tasked with building camps. Bro, you got to be playing? No, I'm not. I don't know how many times I explained this. This is probably the shittiest I told you so moment of all time. It's one of those things that I wish I was completely wrong on. Okay? But it seems to be that I'm not wrong on this. And it's something that I've been talking about, not just this past election cycle. It's something that I've talked about for years at this point. That if you consistently dehumanize undocumented immigrants and lie about them, and the Democrats don't actually counter message against that, then inevitably the Republicans will dominate the conversation, and everyone will come to this false notion that undocumented migrants are all rapists, bloodthirsty, murdering drug dealers who serially kill babies and must be violently removed from this country. And in that process, that violent removal is, of course, going to be costly, horrifying, and a lot of people are going to get swept away, not dissimilar to what Nazi Germany did. That's it. And that's where we're at currently. If Kamala won right now, would you be happier than at this moment or at the same level? No, I would be at the same level. I would be at the same level because clearly Donald Trump is always going to be worse than the Democrats, okay? That's just a fact. The Republicans are always going to be worse than the Democrats. But the Democrats are trying to play catch up with the Republicans all the time, okay? Like, you cannot deny the very important role that the Democratic Party played in undercutting their own message initially, that we are a nation of migrants. Like, they just cut that down, they chopped it up, and they basically thought that the best thing that they could do in this process, after 4 years of unlimited fuck migrants propaganda coming from the right, they turned around and said, you know what, you're right, we were wrong actually, my bad, oopsie. We actually also want to fucking kill migrants. Here is our kill the migrants border bill. Joe Biden unveiled his own build the wall border bill on October 4th, 2023. Okay? Like 3 days before October 7th. I was losing my mind. I was like, what are you guys doing? This is the most insane thing you can do. You are basically, in the simplest terms, admitting that you were lying this entire time. Okay? That you were lying, that yes, you also think undocumented migrants are scary murderers, okay? And that you also want to deal with it through physical apprehension. It is shocking to me. Did they let Kristi Noem shoot dogs on her field trip? Probably.
Police department did not participate in those.
When you say no,
that's the delineation between sanctuary city and cooperation.
When you say no criminal histories at all, you're not including the illegal crossing of the border.
That is correct. Their status is that they're in the country illegally. They do not have proper documentation, but they do not have any criminal charges or suspected charges assigned to them.
Were you able to witness some of the specifics of rules of engagement when they are going up to someone's
So the first
home or
operation we
business?
went.
You talking to Rokana about crime and immigration? Oh, here.
Love focus testing.
How would you counter message on crime and immigration?
Easy. Look at the data. Crime is at an all-time low. The minor blip that happened in in crime mostly focused on homicides, and it was a one-off. It of course immediately went away. Now it's down 40% in places like Philadelphia. So. And even at that time, people were, that's a fact. Use facts to address the made-up hysteria from Republicans. These are falsehoods. They're running on complete falsehoods. They're running on emotional anecdotes. And obviously, when you see a lot of homelessness, you think, oh, that's crime. That's a criminal. Like immediately, that's how people personalize the crime that they're experiencing.
It is pretty crazy that I was just fucking rocking titties out at the DNC. Like, what? I am a very weird person for this. I'll admit that. You know, I'll be the first to recognize that this shit is crazy. Like, I had my titties out at the Democratic National Convention talking to some goddamn senators and congresspersons and shit.
When in fact, like, there is no organized retail. The notion that local news and national networks were running on organized retail theft while showing National Retailers Association numbers on shrink, when shrink was only going up adjusted to more foot traffic, more people going out and
What is happening right now? What is going on right now? Why is my YouTube effing?
shopping was ridiculous. That was something that they could have easily
Okay, I put it on.
addressed, and instead they did not do that. And I would say we during the
You have a buffer, so I don't think it's your internet. I think it's just YouTube being weird. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. It's odd. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah. AOC posted about this, but they're only going to round up immigrants committing crime. No, ICE is already rounding up innocent American citizens. A 3-year-old and his mother and his grandmother were speaking Spanish while shopping at a department store in Milwaukee. They're U.S. citizens from Puerto Rico, but were taken by ICE. It wasn't until they were in detention that the mother was allowed to produce identification and birth certificates indicating their citizenship. I'm so sorry, she was told. The family had to order and pay for a ride back home. You're trying to argue stats while Trump has been assembling a harem of families of victims of migrant crime for the past 9 years. AOC Strat is much better than yours. Wait, no, this is my strat as well. What the fuck are you talking about? Also, secondly, I never said that that is the only thing that the Democrats should be doing. I've also long maintained the position that the Democrats should counter message by showing the humanity of migrants. I've shown you some wonderful examples that even Bernie Sanders' team had utilized. Okay? Showing that these people are just regular ass people that have their own personal stories, that deserve amnesty, that actually contribute to the American economy in very meaningful ways. It's called humanization. If the Republican strategy is dehumanization, the Democrat strategy is supposed to be humanization, humanizing migrants, okay, showcasing their humanity. It's quite literally what I do every fucking day on this broadcast. What do I do all the time, chatters? What do I do about homeless people? What do I do about prisoners? I humanize them. I try to show you who these people are and how they don't have a difference in opinion that is that significant, okay? That they're still, even if they do have differences in opinions, that they are still human beings with goals, okay? And that they're not simply a parasitic hive mind here to destroy American civilization or whatever, okay? It's the reverse of what Tyler Oliveira does. It's the reverse of what Asmongold is contributing to. Where is the lust for deportation so damn high? What Americans' lives make them so horny for it? I just don't get it. I think part of that comes from the same insecurities that a lot of Americans demonstrate when they have this false notion that they're supposed to have this bountiful future where they will have financial security and they will be endlessly successful. And then all of a sudden, when that doesn't match, that expectation is not matched up by their reality, they feel insecure and angry. And any sort of violent expression from the state for those who are even more marginalized than they are, even more vulnerable than they are, is seen as a benefit because it's like, well, at least I got this. At least I'm not that guy. I'm above that guy. You know what I mean? Americans never do this, chat. They never do this. Look, okay? They only do this. They only do this over and over and over again. They never even dare to look up. They only look up and imagine that they will be there one day. Fantasize that they will be there one day. And when they're up there, they'll be really ruthless. Oh, those working poors better watch out when I make it. You know what I mean? Yeah. As was obvious, Democrats compromising on basic things like due process, civil rights would not result in some sort of Republican goodwill or electoral benefit. It's just leading the Democrats looking spineless as they possibly helped Trump throw migrants in Guantanamo. 58 Democrats helped Republicans pass the Lake and Riley Act, which will enable Trump's ICE to put migrants accused of shoplifting, not convicted, not charged, accused of shoplifting without due process. Do you understand how fucking psychotic that is? If only there was someone who's warning about this shit for literally years and years and years and years, okay? And that's the reason why they have to utilize Guantanamo Bay. Because if they were to do this in an American prison facility within the American borders right now, they would actually still run into problems. You know what I mean? They would run into some legal hurdles, just like the judge that issued an injunction, just like judges that, still will hear an executive order come down and go, that's unconstitutional. What the fuck are we doing here? And they can't have that. So they have to process them expeditiously through Guantanamo Bay, where there is no need for due process and that you can engage in involuntary detention permanently without due process for a very long time. So even if someone who is brown, let's say, is undocumented and they are suspected of shoplifting, police come, they arrest him, they find out he's undocumented, ICE comes in, they nab him, they ship his ass to Guantanamo Bay. They put him in a fucking concentration camp in Guantanamo Bay. He is now in permanent involuntary detention with no trial. Do you understand what that is? That means every single time some racist asshole sees a brown person, they can just call the cops and say, this guy actually did something wrong, did something illegal, and the ICE will come and nab them and deport them. This is straight up Nazi Germany, okay? This is exactly what they did to fucking Jewish people in Nazi Germany. This is how it works. Tack on an incentive structure into it, and it's like, we're cooking, you know? Oh, you get $1,000 for every immigrant crime that you, maybe not 1,000, but like you get $100 for every immigrant crime that you actually report to the federal law enforcement agencies. Yeah, and it wasn't just Jews, it was enemies of the state. Exactly. Think about that. Yeah, they didn't just do it to Jewish folks. They did it to all matter of different people. Socialists in particular. Trade unionists, socialists. Anyway, we should watch documentaries on historical examples. You mean just any Nazi documentary? Any documentary that covers the lead up to World War II will very clearly cover what is going on here. Okay? Straight up any, like you can watch any, even like a shittily made one, okay? It doesn't have to be a particularly good one. You could watch like simplified history style YouTube videos and get a pretty decent understanding of exactly what's going on right now and what is to come, okay? Even the anti-trans shit, Nazis were super anti-trans, okay? The first book burning that the Nazi Party engaged in was books about, was research dedicated to transgender medicine. Literally, down to the fucking anti-trans shit. Like, it is a one-to-one, a direct one-to-one. Reactionary politics doesn't change all that much. Obviously, you have to adopt to the current time frame and the current culture, and maybe change the language a little bit, but the underlying sentiment is still the same. Oftentimes, the targets are the same as well. Some exceptions to that, for sure, but it is the same resentment and interest in enacting violence against enemies, perceived enemies of the state, or marginalized people that you can dominate. Yeah, this is, well, there you go. I was, there you have it. Mississippi lawmakers want bounty hunters to find undocumented immigrants. The proposed Mississippi Illegal Alien Certified Bounty Hunter Program Fund shows how hardline immigration policies at the federal level have influenced policy proposals in states and localities. There it is. Can we finally vote blue no matter who? Yeah. Voting for the Democrats last time around was simply a stay of execution, okay? It just meant that you would get a 4-year hold on this and inevitably bring about the Trump agenda from 4 years prior. This is something that I tried to explain to people at the time, and it is directly responsible for the Overton window shifting this dramatically to fascism, okay? While electoralism is not going to be the end-all be-all or the real solution to this sort of thing, contrary to what liberals believe, I still maintain the position that electoralism can be a very important tool. It's something that I've never cast aside. It's something that I urge people to engage with seriously, right? Having said that, the Democratic Party is supposed to be competent. If it's incompetent, then it offers the Republicans these massive victories. It gives Republicans complete ground to engage in whatever kind of fascist nonsense, whatever kind of violent nonsense and initiatives that they want to do, that they want to engage in. If you understand that, if you recognize that like Republicans are devastating to the country, to the globe, to the lives of Americans, to the lives of your neighbors, then you have to do everything in your power to fucking fight back. And the Democrats did not do that, okay? Parading Liz Cheney around was not that. It was the opposite of that. This is why I kept fucking criticizing the Democrats during the election cycle. This is why I was losing my fucking mind. I was like, dude, I don't want Trump to win. I don't want Trump to win. It seems like you guys, the Democrats, want him to win, or at least don't care enough to do what is necessary to stop him from winning. And here we are. Oh, this light is terrible. Here we are. Wonderful stuff.
With this Venezuelan gang member, there was a tremendous show of force. Heavy tactical gear, ramming through the door, going inside, apprehending people. Large show of force to make sure that not only they were tactically safe, but they could execute this particular maneuver. And let's be honest, capturing this photography sends a message. And the administration wants that visual message sent. There is a new administration in charge. These raids are real. They will be more numerous. And the tempo and scope is different than the previous administration.
There's so much more to talk about here, but we'll keep covering it for sure.
We will.
Major, thank you very much.